Hello, beautiful beings. Here we are, day 14 of 21 Days of Fear, where I am going live every day for 21 days, talking about all the ways that fear is holding us back and sabotaging us without us necessarily knowing. And today's topic is around the fear of the unknown. And if you watched yesterday's video, we went into some of the core disturbances that are happening that are keeping the human species wrapped up in fear. And this is another one of those core disturbances that are keeping the human species wrapped up in fear. And the fear of the unknown stems from the agreements that we all made when we chose to come into this three-dimensional mutant matrix to forget who we were, where we came from, and everything that we have agreed to and experienced up until this lifetime. In making this agreement, we were conscious, aware. We made this agreement when we were connected and with our soul to come into this world where we forget. And in this world of forgetting, this separation from our soul creates this deep disturbance in our field, because we're constantly feeling like there's something missing here. And it is. We're missing our whole memory of everything that we are and everything that we have been up until this moment right now, and expanding across all timelines. So what this creates is this deep fear of the unknown, fearing what's going to happen, fearing how things are going to play out in our lives, fearing, who's on the other side of the veil, fearing all of the things that we don't remember, because we are in this space of disempowerment from the core wounds that we talked about yesterday, which is when we give our power away. And the fear of the unknown, stops so many from moving forward with their life. It's like, okay, we don't know what's going to happen, so we don't move forward. We don't put this book out into the world, or change our jobs, or start this relationship, because we're not sure what's going to happen. And in this fear, it triggers all of the other fears around being worthy enough, being smart enough, being educated enough, being prepared, all the things that will then show up when we're unsure of how things are going to work out, to say, maybe we just shouldn't move forward then, because we don't know what's going to happen. And we're still operating in all of these fears that we're not sure if we're actually worthy enough. So if we're not worthy enough, then we might fail, and that fear of failure then stops us from actually moving forward when we don't know what the outcomes are going to be. Now, in truth, with a capital T, we know everything. We're in a review plane, and a review plane means we're in an experience that has already happened, reviewing that experience, which is why deja vu and piercing into other dimensions of reality, like having these moments where you become aware of another probability, another timeline, it's because we're in this review plane where we're reviewing what has already happened. And what that means is that we already know everything that has already happened, which is why we can be psychic and predict things that are coming. The more in alignment with our intuition, the more in alignment ultimately with truth, which is we know everything. Everything is a part of us. There is nothing that is separate or outside of us, which means that there's nothing that we don't know. So then why does the fear of the unknown come up and stifle our life force energy? Think about a time when you've been to a new foreign country, or you walked into the forest at nighttime. This is when the fear of the unknown can be readily felt inside of our bodies. If you've ever stepped into the forest at nighttime and you felt a little on edge, it's this fear that you don't really know what's around the corner or what's out there in the forest. You don't know if there's a mountain lion or a grizzly bear or a rattlesnake or something that's going to crawl into your tent at night. So that fear starts to come up. Now, you can grow past that fear the more and more and more that you go into the forest and connect with the earth and connect with your intuition to know when something is present that you want to be mindful of its presence. An example I can give of this is when I was living in Montana. There was a moment when I was out in the forest with these two dogs, and I felt in my whole being the presence of a mountain lion. Now, in Montana, there's like real dangers out in nature. There are grizzly bears that kill people every year. There are mountain lions that kill people every year. It is the wilderness. And I felt the presence of this mountain lion watching us. And instead of going into fear, I went into a space of choosing to energetically engage this mountain lion and send it messages saying, hey, I know you're here. I am present to you being here. And I connected to it on a soul level. I connected to being a part of the feline family. And I felt this bond merge in that moment, and this mountain lion shifted its attention and directed it elsewhere, instead of the very real threat of it likely having not attacked me, because I wouldn't be the prime target. It would have been one of those dogs. So the more that, and that wasn't always the case. There was definitely a time in this life where I would have gone into the forest and known that there was mountain lions around, and I would have been terrified. I would have had my pepper spray and my pocket knife and all the things ready, and I might have even went out and turned around and came home. The more that we go into the unknown and get familiar with it, the more that that fear comes up. Now, when we zoom all the way out and we remember that I'm in a review of a life that has already existed, that means I know everything that is going to happen already, and I'm in this review plane, having chosen to forget that I'm in this review plane, and I remind myself I'm in a review plane. Everything that's going to happen, I have chosen and I am a part of, and I am aware of. It can soften that experience, and it brings about what helps us to overcome fear altogether, which is trust. Trust that everything is working together for our higher and greatest good. Trust that we are divinely provided for and looked after. Yet, until we move out of the fear-relating octaves, we can't truly embody the trust that it takes to surrender to the unknown. Surrender to this agreement that we made that said, hey, I'm choosing to go into a time when I'm going to forget everything that I am, everything that I have been, the mission that I'm on, why the heck I'm here, all these things that I decided to experience again that are painful and challenging and pushing me to grow and learn, and all the things that I forgot, I said yes to. When we move into that awareness, we can trust the path that we're on, trust the process that we're in. Because the fear of the unknown keeps us stagnant. And when we're stagnant, when energy is stagnant, think about an area in nature where you have seen water grow stagnant. Maybe it's a little tiny pond that doesn't have any streams leading the water out. Or maybe it's a puddle that has just grown from a massive flood or a huge rain day, and it didn't have any outlet, and all of a sudden the stagnant water starts to build. Well, what happens in that stagnant water? It starts to smell, it starts to grow mold, it starts to grow all these different types of bacteria. You're pretty certain that you'd never get into that pond. I know I wouldn't. That being said, other creatures snapping turtles, mosquitoes, amoebas, parasites, they'll all choose to be in that stagnant water. Now, that stagnant energy starts to grow an environment that is toxic to our bodies. So when we think of that, this fear of the unknown creates stagnancy energetically. Well, we are like water. We will also create an environment for toxicity to bloom in the stagnancy. So how we shift out of this toxicity is that we face the unknown and we remember that we chose to come in and forget. And that there is a part of us that always knows, that is all knowing, that is in the oneness. And we can choose to learn how to connect to that part of ourselves that knows. Right? When we come down into these dimensions that we're in now, the inner bodies are the parts that forget. Our outer bodies, our causal body, our soul did not forget. So we choose to learn how to connect to those parts of ourselves that never forgot, that is never in the unknown, that can sit and watch the challenges unfold without getting stressed and on edge, because it's like, yeah, I know that this is serving me in stepping into XYZ in the future. That this is serving me to healing this karmic contract where this has been the existence I've had for the last 150 incarnations, right? Whatever it is. There's a part of us that always knows. And our disconnection from that part, our disconnection from our soul, is what creates this deep fear of the unknown. So what's behind the fear of the unknown is our disconnection from spirit. Because the more that we connect into spirit, the more that we develop our extrasensory senses, like our intuition, our psychic awareness, we no longer are in the space of the unknown because our intuition is guiding us. Our psychic senses are guiding us. We are connected into spirit. So it's not actually the fear of the unknown that is the symptom, right? So the fear of the unknown is the symptom to the underlying cause and dis-ease, which is a disconnect from our spirit, right? How we heal the fear of the unknown is we connect into our spirit. We do our spiritual practices to connect back into our outer bodies, to plug back into our causal body, which happens through our thymus gland, and to our monad, which happens through our thyroid. And diseases in our thymus gland, in our thyroid, in our endocrine system in general are really great signs, symptoms of a disconnection from spirit. Because spirit moves into our vehicle through our endocrine system. And various parts of our etheric bodies, our spirit bodies, are plugged into various different glands of our endocrine system. So endocrine system imbalances are a really great indication of a disconnect from spirit. Now, speaking specifically to the thymus gland, which is where our soul plugs into our body, enters into our body. When we're children, our thymus gland is growing rapidly, and it's open and it's vibrant, and we're really experiencing life through our thymus gland. And what we're seeing scientifically is that as we age, we're calcifying our thymus gland, which means we are hardening it so that it's no longer able to function in the way that it once did. Our thymus gland controls our immune system, which is why children you know, when children get colds and flus, they can naturally fight these things off, right? We don't need a whole host of vaccines to fight off a cold or a flu. Our immune system knows how to keep the body alive, especially when we're children and our thymus gland is like super high level functioning. Yeah, a lot of these vaccinations are actually going in and calcifying the thymus gland very young. Anyways, I'm not going to go down that path. That being said, sticking to this awareness that we're learning that as we start to age and as we start to grow, because of the environmental toxins, because of the toxins that are emotional and mental as well, our thymus gland calcifies. And as that calcifies, we disconnect from our soul. First and foremost, our soul can't reach us if our thymus gland, in the way that it delivers information through us, is closed off. I like to think of this as this perfect mechanism where as we disconnect from soul and we disconnect from our mission, because our mission is also held within our thymus gland, our sacred heart, the G center in human design, thymus gland, right? So as we pull away and as we disconnect and as we get, you know, lost in our journey because we chose to come into a world where we forget, our thymus gland starts to harden. And it's this beautiful mechanism where as that starts to harden, our immune system stops working effectively and our body starts to grow diseased. And I like to think it's because our soul is like, okay, well, this life has become lost and our agenda is not being met. So let's start to transition this being back to spirit so we can start again. Because there are no problems, there are no issues, there's always a solution. And sometimes that solution is the death of the body so that the soul can, the spirit can return to the soul and start anew. That being said, as we do our healing work on our bodies and we heal our endocrine system and our thymus gland starts to open, we actually start to experience this subtle vibration that moves through our body all the time. And in my life, in the work that I've had, you know, about 4 years ago is when I really started to devote my time and energy to restoring health to my thymus gland. And a lot of things started happening in my body. And then a lot of clients started coming in with similar things happening as well. A lot of energy in the heart, almost unbearable energy in the heart, this like powerful vibration that was starting to roll through the body that would sometimes be confused as anxiety, and all these things would start to happen as this thymus gland would reawaken. And it's funny to see that the natural response to that experience of the thymus gland reawakening was actually fear. Fear of the unknown, not knowing what was happening inside of their body, which was actually a reconnection to their soul becoming possible, which is like beautiful and amazing, and it's a sign of incredible advancements on one's path. That being said, because of that original disconnection from our soul, it's created this symptom of fearing the unknown. So as we start to go on our spiritual journey, a lot of things change. Our bodies change, our ways of relating change, who we are being changes. And it can feel like death over and over and over again. And I know many of you can relate to this because you reach out to me about these experiences, because I openly share about the ones that I've had to create a space that you feel I can relate, right? So the fear of the unknown, to just start to bring this into a close, is really digging deeper into this original disconnection from our soul and a fear of the spiritual aspects of our existence that have been essentially kept in hiding, right? Think about a lot of the beautiful esoteric and occult traditions. They have been pushed into the darkness. You know, if we think about the burning of the witches and, you know, all these experiences of the magic people being on the earth, which is really just a connection into our spirit, having been silenced and suppressed for what we call our dark ages, right? Where we have suppressed spirit. The dark ages, in my perspective, is the suppression of spiritual wisdom, right? And we are only now actually starting to come out of the dark ages. And that is through bringing the spirit back into our existence. Yet this fear of the unknown is there. So as we start to bring our spiritual existence back online and our bodies, our lives change, it brings up these massive fears. And it's important to connect to people who have been through those initiations, who can say, hey, you know what? It's totally normal, this experience. When your thymus gland starts to open again, it sends this powerful vibration through your body that can feel like symptoms of a heart attack. You're not actually having a heart attack. This is a sign that you're progressing, that your soul is able to bring more energy into your body, and that your body just hasn't known how to hold that energy before. Does that make sense? So when we start to see these things happening in our body, happening in our lives, and we fear them because we don't know what's happening, just remember that there's a part of you that always knows everything and has agreed to everything that is happening in your life and across all space and time. And how we resolve this fear and unplug it, unwind it from our template is through our spiritual journey, is through opening our body up to spirit, to our soul, and to growing and evolving. It is only through that that you will awaken trust, and trust, true trust, which I like to call faith, is what will eradicate this fear from holding you back, from taking the risks, making the changes, inviting the people and the opportunities and the experiences that feel radical because you don't know what's going to happen on the other side of quitting your job or moving to Istanbul, or, you know, whatever it is that feels like a big catalyst and a big change that you don't know what's going to happen. Connect back into your spirit, do the inner work, and this fear that is as one of the core fears, because it is our disconnection from our soul, it will unravel so many of the other fears that we've talked about in the first 13 days. So with that being said, if this is the first day that you have tuned in, go back and watch the other videos. They are available on IGTV. They're available on my YouTube page at Rainbow Jones. They're available on my Facebook page. If you are resonating with the 21 Days of Fear, share the videos, tag your friends in them, like them, let this information get out into the world and support the message of a world where we transition out of fear-oriented relating and into our higher essence of love and peace and prosperity. I will see you all tomorrow for day 15. Until then, I hope you have an amazing day or evening wherever you're at in the world. Bye, everyone.